Hi. I was experimenting with integrating my Access Virus TI2 into my current setup that consists of Ableton Push 3 and an iPad Pro, and I discovered something rather interesting. Access Virus TI isn't compatible with newer macOS versions because Access just abandoned their virus control center software for Mac. However, there is a third-party editor running on Mac called Aura, and it works just fine, and also comes with a USB driver for macOS. It works okay, although I like the librarian part of the original control center more, but there's a hiccup. When virus is connected through USB, the USB connection basically takes over both audio and MIDI, and the DIN connectors stop working. So if I want to play the virus while connected to a computer, I have to route the MIDI through the computer into the virus so I can use my controllers. So this works fine, running Ableton on the Mac and push in controller mode. But how about controlling the virus from Push Standalone? It turns out when I connect virus via USB directly to Push, it is detected as a MIDI device, so this way I can send notes directly to virus from the Push. The audio over USB is ignored because Push doesn't do audio over USB. So far so good. In this mode, virus DIN connections don't work either. I can route audio from virus's analog outputs to Push for further processing, but sometimes I need to use the virus editor as well, and that's not possible in this scenario. And then I tried connecting the virus USB directly to my iPad to see what happens, and it looks like iPad doesn't recognize the connection as MIDI, but just the audio part. In this mode, the DIN connections still work because USB takes over only the audio part. How is that good news? So, since I have the iConnectivity MIDI 4 Plus that can be connected to two computers at the same time and also has DIN outputs and inputs, I can control the virus from the Push and also run the editor on my Mac at the same time using the iConnectivity MIDI interface. Plus, I get all the audio from the virus into my iPad where I can process it with effects before sending it out from virus's analog outputs back into Push. And since the USB carries 3 sets of stereo outs from the virus and 1 back into the virus, I can route 3 different tracks from the virus into my iPad, process them individually, then send resulting audio back to virus, where it gets converted to audio that goes into Push. So let's see how this works. So Push is in standalone mode. The iConnectivity MIDI interface is connected via USB, and at the same time it is connected to my Mac running the Aura editor. The DIN 1 on iConnectivity is connected to virus, both input and output, and this way I can create an external instrument on Push, route the MIDI to iConnectivity DIN 1, and at the same time have the Aura editor connected to virus via the same DIN 1 connection. The USB from the virus is connected to the iPad in audio-only mode and goes into AUM. In AUM, I created 3 separate tracks for the three USB audio streams coming in from the virus with different effects, and the AUM is sending the process audio back into virus over USB as one stereo stream. Virus is set to multi-mode, and each part is set to a different USB channel. This unfortunately cannot be set on the virus itself. You have to use the Aura editor for this for some reason. There's no USB option in here. However, the configuration seems to be saved in the multi on the virus and can be recalled, so the parts aren't playing into the analog outs on the virus, but instead into the iPad, and then the processed signal from the iPad is output from the analog out on the virus. Analog out 1 from the virus is then connected to Push. It's set up on the external instrument as audio from 1 and 2, which are those two. So the first part is bass, and I put some flanger on it. And a compressor. Also, I can control the level from AUM for the bass part. The second part is a dub techno step that again goes through some effects, delay and reverb, and a compressor. This is the dry signal. And the process signal. The track 3 is a pad from Virus. Processed by the Rimdigare effect. And then I have a fourth track that's playing a breakbeat from the Push, an audio file. There is one weird thing though. USB connection description names don't match on the iPad. So on the first track, the bass, I have set it to USB 1 on the Virus, and it shows up as USB 3+4 on the iPad. The top chord, the track 2, is USB 2 on the Virus, shows up as USB 5+6 on the iPad. And finally, the third track is set to USB 3 on the Virus, and that shows up as USB 1+2 on the iPad. That's about it. There is some latency introduced by the round trip to the iPad and the effects. I found out that I can set the buffer on my iPad Pro down to 32 samples in AUM without any hiccups. That should be about 20 to 30 milliseconds, so it's not that bad. And I can always compensate on the Push external instrument. There's a latency compensation, and I by ear found out that about 30 milliseconds sounds about right to my ears. I can always try to record the Virus and look at it in Ableton to find out exactly how fast that is, but then again, when I add effects in here on the AUM, it will probably change the latency again. Of course, I could ditch the iPad altogether and just use the DIN connectors for both Push and the Mac editor, but being able to process individual tracks from the Virus on iPad is a nice added bonus. So I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching and see you next time.